Car chases are dangerous and unpredictable. Viewer discretion advised.
We are following some breaking news. A pursuit underway. LA County Sheriff's deputies chasing this white car. Mark, you've been getting some information. What is the want on this?
Yeah, we think this is a white Audi. LA County Sheriffs are pursuing this vehicle on surface streets here in the Willowbrook area. The code that we heard was 503, which we believe is a stolen vehicle. Now, there's some information that there was the original driver in this car got out, and the passenger is now the one that is driving this car. It started somewhere on the westbound 91, but is here now on surface streets, El Segundo Boulevard at Central in the Compton area. LA County Sheriffs are behind it, lights and sirens at Central in the Compton area. LA County Sheriffs are behind it, lights and sirens, but there is also a law enforcement airship overhead tracking this. So we have seen drivers, I should say we have seen LA County Sheriff's deputies sort of back off a little bit during these very high speed moments here. Look, we're seeing with the speedometer on SkyCal over 102 miles an hour here on surface streets, now heading eastbound through the Willowbrook area. Amy, this is very dangerous driving. We know there's at least the driver in there. There was one other person, but we also believe the driver now was originally the passenger just after this pursuit started.
Wow. And you know, Mark, we often talk about the fact that the pursuits happen so often with tinted windows, so we can't see if anybody, oh my goodness, anybody else is in there. But we do know now that this driver is on the wrong side of the road, going at a very high rate of speed. So dangerous because people do not see this car coming right at them until the very last minute. You don't have those flashing lights and sirens behind him closely, so it makes it a little more difficult to see this driver coming. Fortunately, this driver is back on the right side of the road, but still going at extreme speeds. And again, you were talking about this being reported as a stolen white Audi, and that it was possibly the passenger that took over and took off in this car.
Yeah, and Amy, as we're just getting some more information from the assignment desk, apparently the suspect is wanted out of the Costa Mesa area. So this may have been a stolen vehicle from sort of the Orange County area, Orange County, LA County border area. So there was that is where the want of this vehicle is originating from, the Costa Mesa area. But as we said, 503, which we believe is a stolen car. And again, very dangerous. I mean, we saw that high speeds on the wrong side of the road here in the 10 a.m. hour. There's lots of people on surface streets here, and checking the radar, I see that he does seem to be going northbound here back towards the 105 freeway. If he continues on this route, he is going to cross under the 105. There it is, right there, the 105 freeway, which also, full of traffic at this hour, but it doesn't appear that this driver has any intention of getting on the freeway. Now a westbound turn onto, I believe this is Imperial Highway, which will take us over to the 110. We are near the interchange of the 110 and the 105 freeway here, but you can see this is not the left-hand turn lane. This is the wrong side of the road. Again, very aggressive driving in a left-hand turn now. This may be an on-ramp, I believe, to the freeway. I'm not sure. Let me check the map here, Amy.
Yeah, it does look like this person may be getting onto the 105, but again, going at high rates of speed. And we often talk about the fact that at least on a freeway, everyone's going the same direction. Everyone's going at a higher rate of speed, so it makes it a little less dangerous, but still very dangerous. And we do have plenty of traffic here on the 105 at 10:37 on a Wednesday morning. Plenty of cars out there, which have certainly slowed this driver down. But this is, again, a case where you don't see those lights and sirens right behind this SUV. And so people aren't always aware that this is someone who is being pursued by law enforcement. And so this person's trying to squeak through this traffic, and people aren't always open, as we all know, to people getting in their lane. And so this person's certainly trying to weave through there, but really being kept in that lane, not being able to get out of it at this point, Mark.
Yeah, this is, obviously the 105 very busy as you continue to head. It's going to eventually dump right into the LAX area. A little bit of a further clarification. Apparently, this started as a following, not a pursuit, but as a following on the 55 freeway. This is information coming in from Costa Mesa PD. Costa Mesa PD wanted to take this driver into custody for driving a stolen vehicle. It ended up in LA County and transitioned through the Compton area. That's when it became a pursuit. LA County Sheriff's deputies from the Lakewood station are currently the ones in pursuit of this vehicle, along with an LA County Sheriff's deputy law enforcement helicopter overhead. So started with Costa Mesa Police, now it's LA County Sheriff's chasing this driver, continuing on the westbound 105 stolen vehicle. So, you know, a lot of times, Amy, we have seen drivers involved in pursuits when they're driving somebody else's car are much more likely to be reckless and much more likely to commit dangerous maneuvers like we've seen this driver do on surface streets in the Willowbrook area, wrong side of the road. And again, right here, coming up right up behind that black pickup truck, right on the tail of that truck, and then slowing down. This is just not a good freeway to be doing reckless driving on. You can see it's just moderate traffic, just enough to maybe make this driver think that they can do, you know, race car style maneuvers of maneuvering in and out of these cars. But this is where it's going to get into real trouble as things slow down. There's not a lot of room for this Audi SUV to maneuver, and now it looks like we're going to get off the freeway here, maybe at San Pedro.
Yeah, and these are fast, high-performance vehicles, and certainly can do some fast driving, and we have seen that on those surface streets, and it appears that this driver is again going to be getting onto maybe getting onto the 110 perhaps?
This might be the northbound. I believe this is the 110 north now. It looks like the sheriff's airship is turning north. So this is definitely now northbound on the 110. We are going to be transitioning through South LA now. And of course, if he stays on this road, it's going to take him all the way into downtown.
Yeah, still going very fast, and not as much traffic over here on this stretch of freeway, but certainly enough traffic and people unaware that this driver is being pursued because you don't see the lights and sirens. He's making aggressive lane changes and again moving towards the fast lane there right behind another car, and now getting a little squeezed in, but trying to squeeze through those cars and next to that truck. But this is certainly traffic slowing down, and you can see Mark, he is really trying to make some aggressive maneuvers, but getting squeezed in. And again, people don't know he's being chased, and they're just thinking, hey, this guy's impatient and trying to get through this traffic, but we all have to wait. And so a lot of times, you know, they're not willing to let him in, but this driver is certainly being very aggressive on the shoulder now.
Yeah, this is a challenging piece of airspace for SkyCal to go through. This is on final approach to LAX. So there are wide body jets that are directly above all of the helicopters that are flying in this pursuit, including multiple media airships like SkyCal and of course the LA County Sheriff's helicopter. So we may have to stay at a sort of long range zoomed picture here because we have to obey the LAX and the TRACON controllers. That's the landing controllers here for those jets that are making a westbound landing into the LAX runway space. So I apologize for not being able to get right over this pursuit, but SkyCal has one of the best zoom lenses in the business, so we can continue to track this pursuit as it continues north. Now, as I look on the radar, it looks like the air traffic controllers at LAX have given permission to SkyCal to make a beeline directly north, which is what we are doing. We are proceeding northbound on the 110, and as long as this driver appears to continue going on the northbound 110, we may be able to stay with him, but it looks like he has gotten off and is now making a westbound turn onto Manchester. This is going to take him into the Vermont Knolls and possibly Inglewood area if he continues on this trajectory. This could also complicate matters. Oh, no, now he's getting back on. This might be the southbound on-ramp to the 110, I believe. He's going to be coming right back towards us now here, Amy, back on the south 110, heading back towards the Compton area. Yeah,
and back into all of that traffic, Mark, but you wonder at times if this is a person who knows where they're going and they're trying to get to a specific location, but traffic is just not, you know, in his favor at this point because there is a lot of traffic on the 110 making an aggressive lane change there next to that van. But this driver is certainly picking up speeds as we're watching, getting up to 100 miles an hour again. This is so dangerous. We haven't seen any patrol cars behind this vehicle alerting people that this pursuit is actually happening. Now, at one point, Mark, when you were talking, I thought I saw a motorcycle with its lights on, but it was quite a bit in the distance, so it doesn't look like we've been able to see from our vantage point with SkyCal any lights and sirens behind this car at all, and so folks just don't know what's happening on the freeway here.
Yeah, you know, I am listening to radio traffic from the LA County Sheriffs. As I expected, they are going into tracking mode. There are not going to be any lights or sirens behind this SUV for the time being right now, just because we have seen this tactic before. So dangerous, wrong side of the road, weaving in and out of traffic. It's a danger to both civilians and deputies alike, so they are going to back off. I do see the sheriff's airship, N954LA, that is LA County Sheriff's Department helicopter, still continuing to track this vehicle. So if this driver gets out on surface streets and makes a run for it, they will be able to vector in their ground units to take that driver into custody. But right now, they're going to be quite a distance away, if even in the area at all, because I am hearing the watch commander to give that code, which is 1022, that's the sheriff's code, to back off, stop following, no lights and sirens, no code 3 response here anymore for this. It is simply going to be a law enforcement airship unit following this driver now.
And of course, they do this because they are trying to slow this driver down. Oftentimes when there aren't the lights and sirens behind the driver, they will slow down and not drive as aggressively, and that makes it a little less dangerous for everyone else that is out there. But this person has been, still keeping up with the speeds despite that, and we will see if this driver continues to use the aggressive maneuvers and driving far too fast for the freeway conditions. And there is a lot of traffic out there, Mark.
Yeah, there is, and you can see this is the kind of problem that this fleeing driver is running into. He's trying to get around, he or she, I suppose, we don't know the gender of the driver, trying to get around cars by sometimes driving on the shoulder. Certainly on surface streets, this person drove on the wrong side of the road. But here, anyone who's driven in Southern California knows there's no way to beat the traffic on the 105. You just have to crawl along with it here, especially as we continue westbound as we approach LAX. I mean, these are people ostensibly possibly heading either to the beach or the airport. And so it's just going to get heavier and heavier as you get closer to the 405. Now, there is one possibility, even though there are no LA County Sheriff's deputies behind it, it's possible that the California Highway Patrol could engage this driver at some point, because this is technically their jurisdiction. The highways and freeways of Southern California are CHP. They are much more, let's say, just aggressive in terms of staying behind drivers' lights and sirens when the driver remains on the freeway. But I so far have not heard yet any CHP units getting into position, probably because it's very difficult for them to do that, to just catch up to this driver safely, being that they will be faced with the same high traffic load that this driver is facing here now as we continue across all lanes now on the 105 westbound. We're in the West Athens area, approaching Hawthorne right now, Amy.
Yeah, very aggressive lane changing there, Mark. And, the traffic is really going only 30 miles an hour, and this person cannot get around all of this traffic. They have been doing some really aggressive maneuvering between traffic, just trying to wedge their way through and get into different lanes. But traffic has really come to a slowdown on this Wednesday morning. And, for anyone who's from the area, they know that, there is no, real commute time. Traffic can be high at any time of day. And it looks like this person is jumping back on the shoulder and perhaps going to get off of the 105 now. It looks like maybe, Mark, he's going to, or she is going to attempt to get off on Crenshaw Boulevard now. And, you'll have to wonder, does this person know where they're going? Are they trying to get to a specific spot, or maybe just trying to get around that traffic?
Yeah, that's right, Amy. And you know what? As I had suspected, I am now hearing radio traffic from that air commander in the LA County Sheriff's helicopter talking to a CHP dispatcher, telling them, be advised, we have a driver here in a white Audi that our deputies could not keep up with. He is on the westbound 105. Hey, CHP, if you want this one is all yours. So the CHP dispatcher is now communicating with that air commander, talking about possibly getting CHP units behind this car in order to re-engage the pursuit. I mean, the reckless driving that we are seeing from this driver, it's clear that this is a dangerous person on the road this afternoon, and even this morning, I should say, and even with no lights and sirens behind this person, they continue to drive aggressively, now going over into the HOV lane. It's probably a little bit more empty, and as I check the radar, we are just passing along the north side of Hawthorne Airport here in between Inglewood and Hawthorne, and continuing, he's going to hit the 405 here, and he could go north or south in just probably less than 4 or 5 minutes here, Amy.
Yeah, we certainly see that stretch of roadway has certainly opened up here for this driver in the carpool lane. Now moving back over, but certainly less traffic now. And it seems, Mark, as if this driver has settled in a little bit, doesn't seem to be driving as reckless, not quite as aggressively as they have been doing throughout the morning. But if you are just joining us, this is a pursuit that actually began in Costa Mesa as a following on the 55 and then turned into a pursuit. There was some early discussion that this was a passenger in the vehicle, Mark, that then took over and took off in the car. Is that still what you're hearing?
Well, you know, Amy, it's really interesting. I was just getting an update on that. One of the things that happens when Southern California, when one law enforcement agency hands an incident over another law enforcement agency, they communicate all of the details that they know to the second agency. So CHP, the dispatcher, was talking to the air commander and said, hey, we may engage in this pursuit. What is this person wanted for? What happened? So I just heard the air commander give a complete write-up, or I should say a discussion with the CHP dispatcher about what happened. Apparently, this was a stolen vehicle following in the Costa Mesa area, and the driver apparently got out and surrendered to Costa Mesa PD, but the passenger, who was a woman, did not surrender, got in the car and took off. So while potentially that passenger may not have originally done anything wrong, they may not have been under suspicion for being in a stolen vehicle, or at least possessing a stolen vehicle, because they weren't the driver. They're the driver now, which means that they are going to be possibly charged with possessing a stolen vehicle and leading police on a pursuit. If that woman had just surrendered, is a very high likelihood she could have just been released without any charges. It's not entirely possible, not entirely guaranteed. But really, this person was not really under suspicion until now. Now they're driving a stolen vehicle in a pursuit between two counties, two different law enforcement agencies, and CHP now potentially getting their units involved in this one.
Although they do know who this driver is, if that initial driver who got out and surrendered would actually identify who that woman is that is now behind the wheel. But again, this is a stolen Audi that law enforcement's after. This person's been driving very aggressively. We now know that this person is in fact a woman. We so often think it's a man, but it is a woman in this case. And, you know, with those tinted windows, we can never see. And we don't know if there was anyone else in that car, Mark. Have they said if there's anybody else in the car?
It doesn't appear so. They've had no further discussions about anyone besides the current driver being in that car right now. The windows are tinted, but being that they have the original driver in custody and they've actually identified that driver. I very briefly heard them discuss that they have the name of that original driver, which very likely means they probably know who the current driver is here. But there was no further discussion about anyone else being in this car. The only thing that they would say when they communicated between the sheriff to the CHP is that the driver is a woman and that she was originally the passenger. And that she jumped in and took off after this the original driver surrendered. So now looking at the radar, we are continuing. We are now past the 405. We are on the south side of LAX right now. And if they continue here on the 105, this is basically going to dump out into Imperial Highway. If we're not already there yet, we're going to be approaching very quickly. And of course, Imperial Highway will dead end into the Pacific Ocean. So this driver is going to have to make a decision about heading north or south here in probably about 4 minutes or less.
But we have noticed that the speeds of this driver have certainly slowed down a bit and certainly a little less reckless. And that could be because, well, she may feel like she doesn't have law enforcement close to her, and perhaps that tactic is working, that she is less aggressive. But you just never know what's going to happen when she does, in fact, see the lights and sirens on her heels. And it seems as though, oh, she's making a U-turn here on, this is Imperial Highway, and now she is heading the opposite direction. You wonder if she is heading to a specific spot, trying to make her way maybe to what she might think is her getaway, maybe going to an apartment or somewhere that she feels comfortable. But right now it seems as though she is driving aimlessly and certainly slowed down. Again, it could be because she just doesn't know where she wants to go.
I mean, yeah, this driver is a long way from Costa Mesa. I mean, that's where this started, and they loitered for a while in the Compton, Willowbrook area, but now we're here back eastbound on Imperial Highway, heading on the south side of LAX. It's possible that this person may want to try and get on the 405 next. I'm not sure, but you're seeing the speeds again, 80 miles an hour with that laser speedometer that SkyCal has. We're tracking the ground speed of this car relative to SkyCal. It's about 80 miles an hour. So driver really no information about where this person could possibly be trying to head, or maybe they don't even know themselves.
But they have found a stretch of the highway that is less crowded. And of course, that is good news for law enforcement because there are less people that are there that could possibly be hurt if, in fact, this person were to crash or lose control of the vehicle. But it looks as though the driver now, this woman, getting off of the 105 again. And we see a motorcyclist there right by, but we have not been able to see any law enforcement on the stretch of roadway behind this driver. We do know that in addition to SkyCal, there is the LA County Sheriff's Department's helicopter up there keeping a close watch on this driver. But we often tell people that they will back off so that it will hopefully slow down this suspect and that they will not drive as recklessly. It looks like maybe they've... Did you see where she went, Mark?
I was actually listening to some radio traffic. I just looked up and saw. I'm not sure where she did go, but the LA County Sheriff's helicopter still communicating following this white SUV for the CHP while the dispatcher tries to get more information about units on the ground getting into position here. But SkyCal, what we may be facing here is a problem once again with the TFR, which is, I should say, not a TFR, but the restricted flight space to the east of LAX where wide-body jets are landing. It's possible we may not be able to move forward into that area, but it looks like we're pretty far south of LAX. It should not be a problem.
I think she went under that stretch of roadway there, it looked like.
I'm not sure why SkyCal. I'm going to try and communicate with the pilot and figure out why they are not able to get a little closer. There could be a flight restriction for this area due to the LAX tower being that we are so close, or it's perhaps that driver just ended up under the tunnel there and has not come out. I am listening and seeing. I am looking at the airship. The sheriff's airship is still in the area. And we are trying to track down exactly where this driver went, Amy.
Yeah, well, we do know that there was at least one pursuit that we carried where the driver went under a stretch like this and had someone meet them and jumped out of the stolen vehicle and jumped into a vehicle with someone else and was able to get away for at least a short time. But we're still watching. This may be. We just heard. I was just communicating with the crew at SkyCal. They're getting information that this driver is now eastbound on Imperial from the 405. Okay. So while we did temporarily lose sight of this vehicle, the airship has not. So we are going to try and track that down and find out where they are. Yeah, again, if you are just joining us, this is a stolen Audi SUV. There were two people in this SUV. It was stolen from Orange County, Costa Mesa area, and they were on the 55 freeway. The car did actually pull over. The initial driver jumped out, but the passenger in the car, a woman, jumped behind the wheel and took off. And so this woman has refused to surrender, although the initial driver who was part of this did give up. And we have to hope or assume that the initial driver would tell law enforcement who this driver is. And you have to wonder if they're trying to communicate with this driver, if there is a cell phone in that vehicle with her that they could call, maybe even try to get a family member on the phone with this woman to try to convince her to stop and pull over, because these pursuits, you know, we see them so often and they really are dangerous, you know, for everyone that's out on the road in the area. Yeah, I'll tell you, Amy, I've been listening to the radio traffic. The LA County Sheriff's helicopter does have eyes on it. They are to the north of us. SkyCal is going to start making that turn. We have to ask for permission from LAX to transition right. I mean, this is very close to the eastern end of the runway, so we have to wait for wide-body jets to land in front of SkyCal. And once that path is clear, we can join that LA County Sheriff's airship that continues to head north on the 405. So they do have eyes on it. The law enforcement does have eyes on it. And I just heard a commander for the CHP say any ground units that get behind this SUV can engage.
So when we finally see some CHP units here on the 405, if they turn on their lights and sirens, they will do an active pursuit. They're just not there yet. So again, apologize, SkyCal has to wait for LAX to give us permission to move northbound here, but this does appear to be heading further away from us on the 405. The sheriff's airship is following it.
Yeah, this is often a tough area for them. But again, if you are just joining us as we wrap up the 10 o'clock hour, this was a stolen SUV out of Orange County, out of Costa Mesa more specifically. 2 people were inside that SUV. The initial driver, a man, jumped out, surrendered, but the woman, who was the passenger, jumped behind the wheel and took off, and has continued this pursuit, going at extremely high rates of speed at times, and driving very aggressively on the 105, the 110, and really doing all that she needed to get away from officers that weren't even close behind her. But we do know, in addition to SkyCal, the LA County Sheriff's Department has been up above. We now switch over to CBS 2 News at 11.
Welcome to KCAL News at 11 on CBS Los Angeles and streaming on CBS News Los Angeles. I'm Sheba Turk, and we are following a pursuit this morning. We have a driver who was a passenger in a stolen vehicle that has taken off. The driver of that stolen vehicle did surrender to police. This began in Costa Mesa as a following on the 55 by Costa Mesa police. And we want to get over to Mark Liu. Where is this driver at this point, Mark?
Okay, so yeah, Sheba, this is the thing. The driver, our helicopter SkyCal, lost sight of this driver as they went under a bridge, but the LA County Sheriff's helicopter has not. This is video you're seeing from a little bit earlier in the pursuit when it was in Compton on surface streets. Very dangerous driving, wrong side of the road. As you mentioned, this is a stolen vehicle. The original driver was taken into custody in the Costa Mesa area. The passenger, a woman, got in the driver's seat and took off. That's what started this pursuit. It is currently northbound on the 405, and the reason that we are not up with it, but we are going to be there shortly, is because we got stuck in the LAX airspace. The LAX tower would not let us cross because there was so much air traffic landing at LAX. So we actually had to head westbound and cross over the top of LAX, over the runways themselves, in order to get into position. Now, SkyCal is to the west of this pursuit. We are looking east at the 405. Right about where the sheriff's helicopter is. So right in there, I think we may have spotted that white Audi SUV with that driver inside of it. Still fleeing right now. There are no lights and sirens behind it, just that sheriff's airship. But the CHP has made a decision that they do want to engage in this. I did hear LA County sheriffs give a handoff to the CHP, basically telling them what this driver was wanted for, who this person is, and where it started. The CHP commander said any units of ours that get behind this car can go lights and sirens, so they will re-engage. But there are no LA County sheriff's deputies behind it right now, Sheba. I believe that we are probably over it right now on the left-hand side of your screen, that live picture, or maybe not. There are a lot of white SUVs out on the 405 today. So SkyCal doing their very best. The crew up there, now they are north of LAX. They have a little bit more space to maneuver, and they don't have to worry so much about general aviation in their area or jets landing at LAX. So we're going to continue here, Sheba, to look for this driver and this white SUV as they continue northbound on the 405. The real challenge, Sheba, is that there's no lights and sirens behind it, so we can't pick it out in a very busy northbound 405 right now, but SkyCal's doing their best.
Yeah, we've been following this for almost 30 minutes now. We have not seen any law enforcement vehicles get close. As you said, just been following from overhead, which does make it more dangerous for drivers who are on the roadway because they probably cannot identify that this vehicle is being pursued. We're just seeing a lot of reckless driving. We know at some moments this driver was going the wrong way down some streets, going extremely fast on surface streets and on the highway. And of course, this started as a stolen vehicle pursuit. So this is not the original driver of the vehicle. The original driver of that vehicle, as Mark said, did surrender to police. That was in Costa Mesa. And this was the passenger, a woman in that vehicle, who is now driving the vehicle. And of course, law enforcement trying to catch up again with it now. All right, so we're going to continue to follow this pursuit. We'll check back in as we have new developments. We want to get back to that pursuit of a stolen vehicle. Let's get over to Mark Lou. Where is this car now?
Well, I'll tell you, Shiva Skycow had to sort through a lot of white SUVs on the 405, but there's only one of them that's doing this, driving extremely recklessly, switching lanes randomly like this. So this is definitely the vehicle that we are looking for. And now we see our first CHP unit, lights and sirens. I believe that was a CHP unit that was just on the right shoulder here, right by where we were passing. It was, I want to say it was on Sepulveda or possibly Culver Boulevard. That CHP unit was right there waiting, and this driver pulled a very risky maneuver right by that CHP unit, and that CHP officer clearly identified this is the driver we're looking for. So went lights and sirens after this white Audi SUV stolen out of the Costa Mesa area. So now we're on surface streets here. This is in the Culver City area. This is on the east side of the 405. And you can see once again, Shiva, this extremely dangerous driving that this driver has exhibited multiple times in this pursuit in the last 45 minutes, driving down the center median, driving on the shoulder, going the wrong way through traffic, completely ignoring lights and stop signs, and approaching speeds of 80 miles an hour on surface streets here as we head north. I believe this is this might be Sepulveda Boulevard that we're on, actually. Yeah, we're passing Palms, getting into the Palms area. So it's unclear how long CHP is going to stay behind this driver now that they're off the freeway. CHP does do this. They will engage on surface streets, but the longer this driver stays on surface streets, I believe the more likely CHP is going to try and hand this off to the jurisdiction of the law enforcement that it's in. That could be either Culver City PD, or if we head into LAPD's territory in just a second, it might be the LAPD.
Yeah, and you see this driver reaching speeds of up to 100 miles per hour, Mark. You wonder if the driver has noticed that she's being followed by CHP at this point. Because we haven't really seen law enforcement get close except for just those past few minutes, but she's been driving erratically this entire time. And for people just joining us, we should remind them this is not the original driver of this vehicle. This started as a stolen vehicle following. This was the passenger in the vehicle, Mark.
Yeah, that's exactly right. There were two people in this car. Costa Mesa PD went into a following. They believed it was a stolen vehicle. At some point, that driver got out and was taken into custody. I believe it may have been by Costa Mesa PD. It could have been by LA County Sheriffs. We're not sure because we did not have eyes on the pursuit at that time. It was still pretty far to the south of where SkyCal was. But whatever happened, the passenger in this white Audi SUV was a woman. She jumped into the driver's seat and took off. And that was more than, I'd say, 45 minutes ago, and has been leading law enforcement through now four jurisdictions on this pursuit. As you can see there on the right side of your screen, this is earlier in the Compton area. This is when LA County Sheriffs were chasing her. Wrong side of the road, and then a very reckless driving on the 105 freeway when this driver went all the way over to the shoulder, making incredibly dangerous lane changes. And now we're right near the intersection of the 10 and the 405. I do see the sheriff's airship still continuing to follow this car, but SkyCal may have just temporarily lost it again. That might be the vehicle there. It's been a challenge to follow this SUV this afternoon because there have been no lights and sirens behind it. So that's usually we can track the vehicle just by the sheer number of law enforcement behind it, but it doesn't look like CHP's behind it anymore. They may have sent this back to the airship to follow.
Okay, yeah, so many white vehicles out there. And you also wonder at this point if law enforcement has an idea of who this passenger is because the driver surrendered. Possibly the driver has told them who this is, or there's some association there. You wonder where this person also is going. Do they think that they're trying to get to a safe spot? Is there somewhere they're going to feel comfortable surrendering? Or are they unaware that they're being followed at this point and they think they've gotten away?
Well, there is a tremendous number of helicopters over this driver. It's not just law enforcement, but it's also the media airships like SkyCal. So all this driver has to do is really roll down their window and they're going to hear what sounds like a small air force over them of helicopters. But it's unclear exactly where they are now. I do see the LA County Sheriff's airship is circling in an area to the west of the 405, north of the 110. That's on the opposite side of the freeway where SkyCal is now, so I'm going to try and direct the pilot over there. But it does appear that this vehicle is still moving. They're just not being pursued on the ground by any CHP units. right now. They're back in following mode. So this is sort of the game sometimes that law enforcement ends up doing this dance of jurisdiction of who is going to take this pursuit. That's very far from where it started in Costa Mesa. So it's going to be probably either end up being the LAPD or perhaps the CHP again if they re-engage, Sheba.
All right, and we see the difficulty with law enforcement trying to track this vehicle. Possibly that is it here. It is a white Audi, very popular vehicle. So we're seeing several of those on the roadway, and law enforcement clearly trying to pinpoint the vehicle again. The thing that may help them spot it, this driver's been driving very erratically for the last 45 minutes or so as Mark's swerving into oncoming traffic. So far, we haven't seen any accidents or crashes that we know of during this pursuit, but this driver has been driving very recklessly, going the wrong way at some points, and it makes it harder for other drivers on the road that law enforcement hasn't been very close to this vehicle. So for other drivers, it may be very hard for them to tell that the vehicle is being pursued. But Mark, it seems like they're having a hard time catching up with it.
There is definitely eyes on it. We are trying to relay radio traffic between our assignment desk and SkyCal in order to get the information, because that sheriff's airship is still following that helicopter, does have eyes on it. They never lost it. It's to the west of us now, near, I would say, Sawtell and maybe Nebraska over there. That's on the west side of the 405. So we're still trying to vector SkyCal in, and we apologize we've been unable to get you video of that, but they are still following this driver. Law enforcement has not lost this car. They seem this air commander in the sheriff's helicopter is doing a great job of tracking this driver, despite, having to go through several jurisdictions and communicating with other law enforcement agencies like Costa Mesa PD and also the CHP. So it sounds like this driver may have gotten back on the 405 now. SkyCal swinging the camera over to look at the 405. We're going to try and find it. It's right by Olympic Boulevard. So we're going to try and put eyes on this here in a second, Sheba, as we continue to listen to the helicopter follow it. I'm not sure exactly where it is, though.
Okay, Mark, I'm going to check back in with you in just a bit. We'll see if they can get eyes on that driver again. We've been following for a little over 45 minutes now. Mark, where is this vehicle now?
Okay, well, this is just about the slipperiest pursuit we have covered in a while, Sheba. This car just keeps going out of our field of vision, but we have it again here. This is a southbound Sawtell Boulevard. We're approaching Venice Boulevard here in the Mar Vista area. And this driver, stolen vehicle, it's a woman driver wanted out of the Costa Mesa area that we've been following for about the last hour or so. There was a CHP unit that this driver passed right by, and I did see that CHP unit go lights and sirens to try and follow this car, although they are a little bit further behind. But now we're making a turn onto Venice Boulevard. I think that was probably a westbound turn onto Venice. Let's see, may have been an eastbound turn, I'm not sure. So we are now tracking this car here. Very dangerous driving, as we've seen, Sheba, on surface streets, wrong side of the road, high speed, sometimes as much as 80 miles an hour. No, they are going west here towards the beach on Venice Boulevard, heading deeper into the Mar Vista area. This is south of Santa Monica Airport, but not a lot of general aviation on the radar around Santa Monica Airport, which is good. It'll mean that the helicopters that are following this car are going to be able to do this in a safe manner. But we have flirted in and out of the LAX airspace, which has also been a problem for both law enforcement and SkyCal. But we are well north of that now. As this pursuit continues on surface streets, driver wanted for originally just being a stolen vehicle, now reckless driving, felony evading, very high speeds. This originally, as we discussed, was the passenger in this car when this was originally just a following with Costa Mesa PD down there. The driver ended up being taken into custody, but this woman, the passenger, ended up jumping in the front seat, taking off, and has led at least 3 different law enforcement agencies now on a pursuit from Costa Mesa to Compton, over to Inglewood, and now Mar Vista, Sheba, on surface streets. Looks like we're heading south now, back towards maybe the 90. Into the Westchester area. Yeah,
it's very interesting that this driver is still going. Again, all the dynamics you said, knowing that police have the other driver who surrendered in Costa Mesa. This was the passenger of the vehicle who's now driving the vehicle. So they have to have some sense that law enforcement is going to be able to identify them pretty soon. But again, law enforcement has not been able to keep up with them on the ground. So we see this driver continue to drive recklessly and, as you said, have crossed over into many different jurisdictions, but still going. You wonder if this driver has in their mind some place that she feels safe surrendering or somewhere she's trying to make it to stop, or if this was just a knee-jerk reaction and this driver is just driving recklessly, really with no plan to stop at all. We've seen this driver, though, cross into the wrong lane several times, drive in the wrong direction of traffic, as you see in earlier video on the right hand of your screen. Right now, the driver does seem to be slowing down just a bit. Where are they now? Culver West?
Yeah, this is basically still in the Mar Vista area here. And yeah, we've seen a little bit slower driving, Sheba, you mentioned, but then there's reckless turns like that and hard on the gas here. Incredibly, though, not a single collision, no injuries reported so far. We haven't seen any damage to this car or any others. But one of the things, though, that we're coming up on here in an hour on this pursuit is that essentially the driver is going to start experiencing fatigue. There is no doubt that driving in such a reckless manner, stopping, starting, turning hard, being mentally very vigilant of going through red lights, looking to see if someone's going to hit you, that is taxing on a driver. They are going to get fatigued here. This is unfortunately when they might make a mistake, or hopefully when they feel like they realize they can't get away and they'll give up. So they're probably experiencing both mental and physical fatigue. The longer this goes on, the adrenaline starts to wear off, or they get another injection of adrenaline when they have a near miss. Either way, this driver is probably starting to feel the pressure of knowing that even though all of their reckless driving on multiple freeways through probably more than 50 miles of road now, they're not getting away. The helicopters overhead are not giving up, certainly not that LA County Sheriff's Air Commander, who is very experienced at this and is tracking this car very closely. Really, the only thing is they're kind of waiting for this driver to maybe give up on her own and get out. That's going to be the safest way to bring this to a conclusion. There are CHP units. They are close, but they are not right behind this car. And now we are going under this. I believe this is the 90. This might be the Marina Freeway. Did they pop out on the other side? SkyCal did not see them pop out on the other side. Sheba, this is a tactic we have seen sometimes with fleeing drivers. They will stop under an overpass and perhaps try and get out and run, believing that, that's her. She looked like maybe she was going to do a U-turn. Not going to fool the airships. They have eyes. I see the sheriff's airship is circling very low. That's got to be the driver right there. Not going to stop under that overpass right now. But we have seen that before. An attempt by drivers to evade by parking under an overpass or perhaps parking in a parking structure. That is not going to defeat the LA County Sheriff's airship or any of the law enforcement on the ground. They will vector in and catch you. You won't be able to get away for long.
Right. It is very interesting, again, that the original driver got out and surrendered, so maybe her thought was to stop under there and try to get out. Yeah, we've seen high speeds during this pursuit, as you said, sharp turns, driving in the wrong direction of traffic, all kinds of reckless driving. It is amazing. It's been almost an hour now, and we haven't really seen any damage to other vehicles or collisions or anyone put in any immediate danger. We definitely hope it stays that way. But this driver is driving very recklessly. And again, the original driver already surrendered. So by now, you'd imagine in the last hour, law enforcement has spoken with that driver and hopefully gotten some information on who this originally the passenger was, who's now driving the vehicle. But this woman doesn't seem to have any plan to stop. And again, just keeps picking up speed, trying to get away.
Yeah, Sheba, that may actually not have been the right vehicle, or it looks like SkyCal may be having to return to base due to fuel. Okay. We are going to keep monitoring this with the radio and let you know the update, but I do believe we may be out of fuel here. We do understand that SkyCal has been flying for quite a while, and they may need to head to an airport very quickly. They could go to Santa Monica and fuel, but it looks like we may have to do that right now, and we will continue to follow this pursuit and let you know the very latest details.
Now at 11:30, we have breaking news. A dangerous pursuit involving a stolen SUV spans across Orange County and LA's west side. So for that, we want to go right to our assignment desk manager, Mark Liu, at the desk with more. And Mark, this all started in Costa Mesa. I was tuning in earlier when you guys were talking. I mean, speeds were so high and really dangerous as well.
Yeah, some of the most dangerous driving we've seen in a while, Colina. And yeah, it did start in Costa Mesa, currently now in the Westchester area, just north of LAX. Now, SkyCal had been following this pursuit for the better part of an hour, but SkyCal had to land at Santa Monica Airport for fuel, and we are are going to be back over this pursuit as soon as that gas tank in the helicopter is full. But this is video from earlier. That car right there, described as a white Audi SUV, originally wanted in the Costa Mesa area by Costa Mesa PD for being a stolen vehicle. Now, the driver, a man in that SUV, ended up stopping and being taken into custody by law enforcement. But then the passenger, described as an adult woman, jumped in the front seat of the car and took off, leading police on a chase that went from Costa Mesa all the way up into LA County's area, into the Compton, Inglewood area, onto the westbound 105. Very dangerous driving in and out of lanes, sometimes on the shoulder, all the way up into the Mar Vista area, where the CHP was tracking it with crews on the ground and also the sheriff's airship overhead the whole time, trying to take this driver into custody. But as of right now, it does look like while this pursuit is still going, it may have stopped in the Westchester area. I see the LA County Sheriff's airship circling, which usually means that the vehicle is no longer moving. As soon as SkyCal gets back up overhead, we're going to bring you the very latest of how this one ended, if it ended, or if it's still going. That is the very latest from the desk. I'll send it back to you, Kalina.
All right, Mark. Welcome back to the broadcast. We continue to follow breaking news. We brought you this earlier today. Mark Liu has been watching it for us throughout the morning. This is a police pursuit that has been happening. Started off in Orange County, hit very high speeds, and has been extremely dangerous. Mark, at one point we lost a shot because our chopper had to refuel. Now we're back over it right now. Can you bring us up to speed on what happened, why it went from Costa Mesa all the way to LA so far, why it's taking so long? I feel like this has been well over an hour at least. It
has, Kalina, and this has got to be one of the most elusive pursuits that we have covered in the recent memory. This vehicle that you're looking at, it's a white Audi SUV, unfortunately now heading southbound into what is called the LAX Class B Bravo airspace. This is airspace reserved for jets landing at LAX, so SkyCal may have great difficulty in flying into this area. We can't impede the traffic of large jets that are going to be flying directly over SkyCal's rotors. We don't want to do that, so we may have to watch from a distance as that white Audi SUV continues to elude law enforcement. Now, for the vast majority of this pursuit, there hasn't been any lights or sirens behind that allegedly stolen white SUV. It's been the LA County Sheriff's airship, the helicopter overhead tracking it. CHP for a brief time did get involved here, but they also have backed out, and you can see a very distant shot of that SUV. As you had mentioned, it started in Costa Mesa, probably around the 10 o'clock hour. When Costa Mesa PD was following that vehicle, they determined that it was stolen. There was a male driver, female passenger. What you're seeing on the right here is video from earlier. At some point, that male driver got out and was taken into custody by law enforcement, but the female passenger switched seats, got into the driver's seat, and took off and led at least 3 different law enforcement agencies on a pursuit from Costa Mesa all the way here now back into the Inglewood area. Now, just about a half an hour ago, SkyCal simply ran out of fuel. We have about 2.5 hours in the gas tank of SkyCal. They used it all up. They went to land at Santa Monica Airport, and I watched on the radar as the LA County Sheriff's helicopter was circling around a single spot at the corner of Westchester and Sepulveda Boulevard for a very long time. And that indicated to me, at least, that this pursuit had stopped. We really thought that this driver had surrendered because the law enforcement airship just kept circling and circling and circling around one intersection. But then, just about 10 minutes ago, as SkyCal was launching out of Santa Monica Airport, we saw that helicopter start moving again on the radar, and now you can see it's because this driver has not given up. They continue to drive recklessly now on surface streets southbound. We're on Crenshaw Boulevard south of Century Boulevard, and again, unfortunately, I apologize, this is restricted airspace for media airships like SkyCal. The LA County Sheriff's helicopter, they can fly freely in there. The tower gives them priority at LAX in order to fly in that area because this is a law enforcement operation. But TV helicopters like SkyCal unfortunately have to wait outside until all of those jets have passed and that the LAX controller can give us permission to move in. And I'm looking at the radar. I can see there are a lot of jets, Kalina, landing at LAX right now. So most of the media airships, all of them really, are stuck on the northbound side of LAX while we continue to wait for permission to get in there and see this pursuit. That's it here from the desk. Kalina, I'll send it to you.
All right, Mark, thank you so much. And we will continue to follow this pursuit for you and have an update coming up. For now, though, thank you so much for watching us here here on KCAL News at 11:30. KCAL News at noon with Amy Johnson is coming up next.
Now at noon, a wild pursuit from the freeway to surface streets. A getaway driver and a stolen car hits top speeds. Hello and welcome to KCAL News at noon and streaming on CBS News Los Angeles. I'm Amy Johnson. Now, the driver of a stolen SUV sped from Orange County to LA's west side while evading police. Assignment manager Mark Liu is live at the desk with details. And Mark, this started all the way in Costa Mesa. So tell us what happened.
Yeah, this pursuit has been going on for the better part of 90 minutes. One of the most elusive pursuits that we have covered has gone in and out of different restricted airspaces and behind buildings. SkyCal sometimes has struggled to keep track of this allegedly stolen white SUV. But as you mentioned, it started in the Costa Mesa area in the 10 o'clock hour when Costa Mesa PD say they were following this white Audi SUV, believing it was stolen. At some point, the driver was taken into custody by law enforcement, but the passenger, a woman, got into the driver's seat and took off. That started a pursuit that went from Costa Mesa into Compton, into Inglewood, Westchester, Mar Vista, and now we believe somewhere back in the Willowbrook Compton area. Now, SkyCal is currently overhead trying to find that white stolen SUV again, but unfortunately, that SUV had crossed into an area called the Class B or Class Bravo airspace of LAX. This is a place where media airships and media helicopters like SkyCal can't fly because that's where jets that are landing at LAX have to cross through, and it's very dangerous for helicopters to maneuver in that area. So the LAX control tower did not give SkyCal permission to move into that area. Unfortunately, that's where that allegedly stolen SUV was driving in. So the LA County Sheriff's helicopter that's following that SUV did go into that restricted airspace. They have permission to do that safely because they can fly much, much lower. The sheriff's helicopter can fly as low as 500 feet. SkyCal doesn't fly that low. So we had to take the long way around and basically go into South LA and head south. And now we are trying to track that SUV again, following the sheriff's helicopter. The problem, Amy, is that there are no lights and sirens behind this car on the ground. That's a really easy way for our media helicopter like SkyCal to zero in on exactly the vehicle that's being chased. What you're seeing on the right side is some of the dangerous driving that this woman engaged in earlier on the westbound 105 and the 110 going across all lanes. Here, this is in Inglewood on the 105 going into the HOV lane. We have seen driving on the wrong side of the road on surface streets. We've seen driving on the shoulder on the freeway. But this has caused many law enforcement agencies, both the CHP and the LA County Sheriffs, to back off. They went into what's called surveillance mode or tracking mode, where they don't have any lights and sirens behind that fleeing car. It's far too dangerous for deputies, officers, and civilians to engage in a high-speed pursuit when the driver is this reckless. So right now, we do know that the LA County Sheriff's helicopter, once again, is tracking that white SUV. It's just been difficult for SkyCal's crew to pick out which white SUV on the westbound 105 now this fleeing driver is driving, just because there are so many and there's no lights and sirens behind us to help us track down exactly which car it is.
Always a difficult task to keep up with these fast-moving cars blending in with so many others that look so similar. And of course, we're going to stay on top of this and keep you updated on this pursuit, I believe. Or are we going to stay on this? We're okay. Well, we're going to keep an eye on it and we'll bring you updates as we get them.
SkyCal was overhead for a stolen vehicle pursuit that lasted for almost 2 hours earlier today, with the driver driving at high speeds on streets and freeways and even driving on the wrong side of the road at times. It started in Costa Mesa, but the driver eventually made their way through Compton. LA County Sheriff's helicopters kept an eye on it, but the driver eventually made their way near LAX, and that's where they were last spotted. There's been no update from sheriffs on what happened to the vehicle or to that suspect.
A stolen car pursuit lasting for hours today. That driver speeding here through SoCal freeways and surface streets, even driving on the wrong side of the road at one point.
Well, let's get right to assignment editor Mike Rogers on the desk. And Mike, do we know if the driver was ever arrested?
We do, and they were not. And
wow.
Partly because just the logistics of where this chase was really inconvenient for law enforcement as well as for SkyCal, actually losing sight of the driver a couple of times because of that. But when we did have them, they were in the streets of Compton on the wrong side of the road there. Now, this all started down in Orange County. It was Costa Mesa PD that was following this stolen vehicle. Now, we understand that when Costa Mesa was doing it, there were 2 people in the car. They pulled over. The driver actually got out and was taken into custody, but then a woman in the passenger seat jumped in the driver's seat and took off with it. Then it came up to LA County. Sheriff's Department got involved. They were on and off the 105, the 110, trying to get CHP in place, but they couldn't. And then the sheriffs are only following it from the air. And here we are right near LAX. She slips under the freeway here in that Audi, and we never really see her again. At some point, she gets out of the car, we believe, and takes off. We did see a lot of kind of movement down under there. There were some people running around. It was hard to tell if any of the people that were down there were actually the driver of this SUV. You see them pop out through here one more time, right there, and then they go under the freeway again, and we don't see them anymore. And again, like I mentioned, it was a really tough spot. This is the 105 right on the south end of LAX, making it very difficult for even the sheriff's helicopter to be overhead with it, certainly for our news helicopter as well, just because of the logistics and the location here. Now, the only plus side to this is obviously they took the original driver into custody. Hopefully, that driver knows who this passenger is and gave that information up to law enforcement, but at this point, we have not heard of any arrests after all that, guys.
All right, Mike, thank you.
SkyCal was overhead for a stolen vehicle pursuit that lasted for almost 2 hours, with the driver going at high speeds on streets and freeways and even driving on the wrong side of the road. It started in Costa Mesa. We're told at that point there were 2 people in the car. The driver got out and was taken into custody, but the female passenger jumped in the driver's seat and took off, making her way through Compton, then near LAX. The LA County Sheriff's helicopters kept an eye on the car, but lost it under an overpass near LAX and never found the driver.
Well, that chase went across 2 different counties and even had 2 drivers. KCAL News assignment editor Mike Rogers is at the desk. And Mike, walk us through this one.
Yeah, Chauncey, so this all happened started in Orange County, really, and started up there and then came north into LA County. This is all over a stolen car. We'll show you some video here when we caught up with it in SkyCal. Now, it happened in Costa Mesa. Costa Mesa PD actually tried to pull this car over and was successful at one point. There were 2 people in the car, a driver and a passenger. The original driver got out and was taken into custody, but then passenger, a woman, jumps in the driver's seat and takes off. This is the wild driving, wrong side of the road. Really hectic and chaotic for law enforcement. LA County sheriffs went into tracking mode, only following it from the helicopter, which then proved to be very difficult as we got near LAX, which this woman conveniently pretty much stayed in that area. Eventually we get here where she gets under the freeway, and because of the airspace restrictions, SkyCal as well as law enforcement helicopters and the fact that we actually can't see through bridges didn't have eyes on her throughout this time. Eventually she kind of pops through the opening there, but then goes back under the bridge and at some point gets out on foot and takes off. We saw a bunch of people milling about. It seemed like people saw what was going on, but there was no law enforcement anywhere behind her to be able to catch up to begin a search for her. And Chauncey, at this point, we don't think that she was ever taken into custody. So this woman that was accused of driving a stolen vehicle after she was a passenger in the stolen vehicle, still outstanding tonight, but hopefully the person who was driving originally knows who she is and maybe will cooperate with law enforcement.
Wow. All right, Mike, thank you.